America was discovered in 1492, we declared our independence from Great Britain in 1776, and our first president was sworn into office in 1789. We have had 43 presidents since Washington, and they all had different things to offer our great nation. One thing they all had in common is that they went into office wanting to make America an even greater place to live. Let's start with our first president, George Washington. Before becoming our first great leader, he was elected Commander-in-Chief of the Continental Army in 1775. Not long after, he realized that the nation under its Articles of Confederation was not functioning well, so he became a prime mover in the steps leading to the Constitutional Convention at Philadelphia in 1787. When the new Constitution was ratified, the Electoral College unanimously elected Washington as president. He retired in 1797 after serving 2 terms. One of the most iconic presidents to date is Abraham Lincoln, our 16th president. He was elected in 1861, and as president, he built the Republican Party into a strong national organization. He was a major part of the Civil War, which lasted from 1861 to 1865. On January 1, 1863, he issued the Emancipation Proclamation that declared forever free any slaves within the Confederate States. 1 year after being elected for a second term, Lincoln was assassinated at Ford's Theater by John Wilkes Booth. The youngest man to become president was our 26th president, Theodore Roosevelt. Many people referred to him as Teddy Roosevelt. He wasn't elected, but was sworn into office after the 25th president, William McKinley, was assassinated in 1901. He steered the United States more actively into world politics and is famous for quoting, "Speak softly and carry a big stick." He is also responsible for the construction of the Panama Canal, which serves as a shortcut between the Atlantic and Pacific Oceans. He left the presidency in 1909. At times, being president can run in the family. Franklin D. Roosevelt was elected president in 1933, just 24 years after his 5th cousin Teddy left office. His life was riddled with unfortunate events, but that never stopped him. In the summer of 1921, Roosevelt was stricken with polio, leaving him paralyzed from the waist down. He was also elected during one of the worst times in U.S. history, known as the Great Depression. Roosevelt proposed a program to bring recovery to business and agriculture, relief to the unemployment, and to those in danger of losing farms and homes. This was referred to as his first 100 days. By 1935, the nation had achieved some measure of recovery. He passed away due to a cerebral hemorrhage in 1945, ending his presidency. This next president is the youngest to be elected as president, and he is also the youngest to die. During his inaugural address, he is famous for saying, "Ask not what your country can do for you, ask what you can do for your country."
And so, my fellow Americans, ask not what your country can do for you, ask what you can do for your country. My fellow citizens of the world, ask not what America will do for you, but what together we can do for the freedom of man.
His economic programs launched the country on its longest sustained expansion since World War II. He took vigorous action in the cause of equal rights, calling for new civil rights legislation. In 1963, Kennedy was assassinated while riding in his motorcade through Dallas, Texas. Many people's opinions of this next president is that he was one of the greatest to lead America. Before becoming president in 1981, Ronald Reagan toured the country as a television host, becoming a spokesman for conservatism. He obtained legislation to stimulate economic growth, curb inflation, increase employment, and strengthen national defense. At the end of his administration, the nation was enjoying its longest recorded period of peacetime prosperity without recession or depression. The one president who made America an even better place to live than Reagan did would be Bill Clinton. During his presidency, the unemployment rate was at its lowest, inflation was at an all-time low in 30 years, homeownership was at its highest in history, crime rates were dropping all over the nation, and welfare was being reduced. He was the first president to achieve a budget surplus, and he also called for a great national initiative to end racial discrimination. Unfortunately, he was the second president to be impeached by the House of Representatives, but was found not guilty of any charges after being tried by the Senate. He apologized to the nation and continues to have unprecedented popular approval ratings for his time as president. Our nation's peace and prosperity didn't last long. On September 11, 2001, airborne terrorist attacks on the World Trade Center, the Pentagon, and a thwarted flight against the White House transformed our next president into a wartime president. George W. Bush, after following in his father's footsteps of becoming president, was considered to be facing the greatest challenge of any president since Abraham Lincoln. America went to war and invaded Iraq. Bush gave the impression that this invasion would make the world more secure against terrorism, winning him the national political debate. He was re-elected for a second term in 2004 and was convinced that America was ready for the greatest achievements in the history of freedom. Our 44th president has broken the mold in many ways. All of the presidents leading up to him have been Caucasian, and the majority of them came from wealthy families. Barack Obama is the first African American to be elected into office. His years of public service are based around his unwavering belief in the ability to unite people around a politics of purpose. Obama is currently serving his second term as president.